Right, yes guys, hope you're all good, having a good day, whatever time of the day you are watching this video. I'm going to make this a very quick intro because I'm in my car, it's sweltering hot. I've turned the aircon off and turned all the windows up so you can actually hear me, you don't just hear air everywhere. And I'm taking you through my second leg session of the week. And you've seen this session in particular on my channel quite a few times now. However, this time it's being done at a different gym, EP Jungle, the new gym. So yeah, exciting. In reality, nothing's really changing. It's just a few different brands and machines. The actual exercises are going to stay the same. Starting out, cable tricep extension. Then they don't have the Jim Leco preacher curl, but they also don't have that at Kings anymore. So last time at Kings, because they didn't have it, I did dumbbell preacher curl. Found it okay, but I would prefer to do it on a machine just for stability purposes, and I don't have to worry about balancing it or anything, or being really slow, just so I can keep it stable. So yeah, I'm probably going to use the Strive preacher curl because I know that they have that here, and I'll just play around with the resistance profile. So start first set with setting cam on 1, and then, you know, as I do with all the other ones, first set cam on 1, second set cam on 5, third set cam on 3 as my biceps start to fatigue. Then after that, moving on to the adductor, not the Cybex, the one at Kings. I'm moving on to the prime one, and I'll just do that on cam setting 1 because it's quite close to the start of the session. So there isn't any like built up fatigue within my adductors, so I'll be able to get them nice and short, which is what we want towards the start of the session. Then after that, moving on to the seated leg curl. They don't have the pre-core one here, they have the prime, which I love prime. So I'll definitely have a few sets on, well, I'll do 2 sets on there, have a good feel for it. I've tried this prime seated ham curl before at Ultraflex North Leeds, and I don't think I set it up right because it didn't feel very good then. But now I'm better at setting up machines in general. I know how everything's supposed to be lined up. It should feel better, hopefully, but if it doesn't, that'll be quite disappointing. But it's what it is. There is a different one as well. There is a Flex seated ham as well, if I did want to use that. Or I could use any other ham curl. I know they have loads of standing ones too. Like this, they've got a Cybex standing single leg one, a Flex standing single leg one, and then they've got a bunch of line ones as well. So yeah, very well equipped when it comes to the hamstring department. Then after that, I could either move on to the squat press, or I'm debating doing the hamstring hip press again because it has been feeling okay. But I quite want to try the old Cybex, the 45-degree Cybex leg press, because they used to have that at Kings, and I never used to really like it because I found I couldn't get very good range of motion on it. But they have this thing at EP, it's like a big cushion that you can sit against, and I did a little demo set with it at the end of the end of my last session, which was on Thursday, Saturday, not today. And it felt really good. I felt like it was just a warm-up set, it didn't have any weight on, but it felt like I could get so much more range out of it. So I'm going to try it with that on. It also didn't feel like it was digging into my lower back at all. So yeah, looking forward to trying it with that. I'm probably going to do that after the seated, in fact it's no tell lie, I'm going to do glute drive after seated ham, the same way that I've been doing in the last couple rotations of this session. Then I'll move on to the Cybex leg press. Then I'm going to try their pendulum out. It's not the Jim Leco one, which I use at Kings, which I've been getting on really well with lately. So kind of gutted to not be using that. But this one looks okay. I'll be honest, it doesn't look as good. It's monster. I think it's quite a bit lighter than the Jim Leco one, so I'll probably be able to get a good few more plates on there. But that's not what it's about. It's about how it feels, I guess, how much range of motion you can get out of it, how stable it feels. That's what goes into making a good machine, not how much weight you can actually lift on it. Then after that, it will be onto barbell RDLs. Just do the set on there, where I might see how the pit shark feels. It's basically like a belt squat, but you can set up RDLs on it really well. So yeah, that is possibly an option. And then I'll finish off with 2 sets of standing calf raise. They have a nice little Star Trek standing calf raise machine there, so that'll be good to test out. So yeah, that'll be the session. Now I'm gonna catch her in there because I'm fucking boiling in this little sauna in the car. So yeah, adios. Right, as usual, we are starting out with 1 set of triceps because I have previously mentioned that I've been trialing out hitting triceps 3 times a week. So doing the usual 3 sets at the end of both of my upper body days, and then doing the 1 set basically to start this second leg session of the week. My split at the moment is upper Monday, lower Tuesday, rest Wednesday, the second upper session on Thursday, rest Friday, the second lower session on Saturday, then rest Sunday. It's not me screaming on this set, by the way, it's someone on the hack squat next to me, which is sick, but I don't make that much noise on a tricep extension. Maybe on a hack squat or a leg press or a pendulum, as you'll probably see later on in the video, but not on tricep extensions, just so you're all aware. But yeah, with how my split is laid out, that basically means that I have 2 days in between both upper body sessions to give my triceps time to recover, and then I have one day after my second upper body session, and then an extra day after the second lower body session where I do the one set of triceps before my first upper body session of the following week. So that is why I do more volume for triceps on the end of the upper body days, and I only do the one set of triceps on this lower body day because there's less time for them to recover. And what I have noticed is when I first started doing this, maybe 3 weeks ago or so, I did notice my triceps were feeling a little bit like more sore, which is kind of obvious because I am training them more frequently. But I noticed the recovery has almost gotten better on my triceps over the past 2 weeks, which is quite funny how the body just tends to adapt and respond to a training stimulus that is new. That's why when it comes to volume, you can actually escalate your volume up over, let's say you're bulking up, you can escalate your volume up over that time, provided you are recovering, which is why you should be logbooking all your training, so you can actually look at the numbers. If they have been consistently increasing and you're not getting ridiculously sore session to session, you should be getting a little bit sore to an extent, but if you're not going into the next session with soreness still lingering around and your numbers are still progressing, you've probably got the green light there to add in extra volume if you have the time to do extra sets in the gym and stuff. But if your numbers are not progressing session to session, then I definitely wouldn't be adding in any extra volume. You're probably best just trying to actually dial in your recovery a little bit more. If they are even regressing, I'd probably actually consider dropping the amount of sets that you are doing, especially if you're in a dieting phase, because that is where you really want to be holding on to your training performance in the gym. If not, that is most likely where you will notice the muscle loss starting to occur when you are deep in a diet. If you can maintain your performance, you pretty much will maintain the amount of muscle mass that you have, so definitely pay attention to it. Anyways, back to the session. As you can see, I did one set of tricep cross body extensions, I guess that's what you'd call them, and I used the cuffs on the ends just because I don't like holding on to the little balls of the cables. I find I can just push harder against the cuffs and I'm not digging the ball into the palm of my wrist, palm of my hand, which can hurt a little bit. And I did this dual arm because on the Cybex Bravo cable station, which is the one that I was using, the cables are a little bit more narrow together than the Life Fitness one that I have been doing them on at Kings, because the cables on the Life Fitness one are spaced a little bit further apart, so when you go to actually cross your wrists over to do the extension, it kind of feels like you're extending your wrist out to the side as opposed to at a 45-degree angle roughly, which is what you would want for, let's say, this sort of exercise. And that also means that I can save a little bit of time. I don't have to do both sides individually, I can do them both at once and it feels just as good. So yeah, that went good. I got a set of 15, I think I'll probably up the weight next week, probably shoot between 12 and 15 again. I like to do that one set with a little bit of a higher rep range just because it is the first I guess arm movement of the session. I also just want to get a little bit of blood into my elbows too. I then moved on to the Strive Preacher Curl, which is very good. They have it at the Physique Club down in Loughborough, which I've used before, and it is a good preacher curl. I'll be honest, I do prefer the Gymleco one, both from a resistance profile aspect, which isn't as relevant because with the Strive you can manipulate the resistance profile to set it fully length and biased, which the Gymleco one kind of is, but more so just about how the elbow pads are sort of laid out. They're a lot more, I guess, angled, so you can really get your elbow into it on a bit of an angle and sort of twist your torso into it and just fully line up everything with your bicep, which feels very good. I also prefer the handles on it because they're a little bit thinner, and some people prefer training biceps with a thicker handle because it means that they feel less forearm. Personally, I find it the complete opposite. I would rather train biceps with something as thin as possible, really. If the D handle is really thin, when doing a cable curl, for example, I would much prefer to do it with a thin one as opposed to a thick one, just because I actually just feel my bicep way more. And feel isn't everything, but I do like to be able to feel the muscle that I'm training when I'm training it. So yeah, I did 3 sets on there, and each set I basically altered the resistance profile so that the first set was on cam 1, where the resistance is sort of spread evenly throughout the whole movement, which felt very different to how the Gymleco is. If I had to guess what cam the Gymleco would be on if it was a Strive or Prime piece of equipment, I'd say it's the Gymleco Preacher Curl would almost guaranteed be on 3 or the one in between 3 and 5, because I know with Stride you can actually go in between, which is pretty sick. So yeah, it definitely felt harder to get the full contraction at the top, but it was an okay set anyway. I definitely overshot the load because of that, so I only ended up getting like, I think 5 reps I think it was, which for the first exercise of a bicep curl, I do not want to be doing five rep sets, so I dropped the weight quite a bit after that, and I changed the resistance profile onto Cam 5, which spreads it a little bit more length and bias, but not completely length and bias like Cam 3 would, and got a set of 11 with 1 pin below, and then I kept the same weight, dropped it to Cam 3 for the third set, and got a set of 11 again. So yeah, 3 good sets there. I just would have liked some more reps on the top set, so the weight will be adjusted next week in line with that. I then moved on to the Prime adductor, which, although it is a very good adductor, I do prefer the Cybex one up at Kings, to be fair, from the way that the machine actually like functions, just in terms of how well, there's pros and cons to both, right? So the Prime, I find the actual pads that go on your inner thigh, on your like the very end of your adductor per se, they are thinner, which means they can be brought close together so you can get a better contraction, which is very good. That's what I want. But I do notice that the foot pads are quite far out. I think that's the way I word it. They are quite further to the outside of the thigh pads, which means that if you really want to jam your thighs against the thigh pads, your feet almost feel like they're about to slide off, which is not ideal. That's not what you want. Whereas with the Cybex one, it's not like that at all. You can really get your thighs firmly pressed against the thigh pads, which is good. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. The Prime one is also a lot heavier, which means that I won't have to do sets of 20, 30 plus like I have had to do previously on the Cybex, or do like ridiculously paused reps. Then after that, I moved on to the Prime seated hamstring curl, which I actually found was very similar to the Precor in the way it's set up. I think it does dig a little bit more into your knees, which is not really what I want, but I did like how you can manipulate the resistance profile, so you can get it fully length and biased as the sets go on, so that felt good. We then moved on to the glute drive, the Booty Builder one, which is basically the same machine that they have up at Kings. They have the plate loaded and the pin loaded at Kings. I have been normally using the plate loaded, but I tried the pin loaded because that's the only one here that isn't the Nautilus glute drive. Nautilus glute drive feels terrible on my quads, but I'll go into that on a separate video. So yeah, I did 2 sets on there, which both felt great. I had to adjust the position of the seat and stuff because it does feel a little bit different to the plate loaded one, but it felt great regardless. We then moved on to the proper heavy hitters of the session, the quad compound movements. Now, they did have the ham strength hip press, which is the leg press that I have been using as the first quad compound movement of this session, but I've wanted to try this leg press with this. You can see this big cushion that's on my back here. This is sort of like something you can just slot onto the machine, and it makes the machine feel so much better, as in you can get way more range of motion compared to how you could without, and the machine also doesn't dig into your lower back. Like with the way this leg press is designed, there's like a gap at the bottom, which I guess your hips can sort of sit back into, but for me personally, it just means that I get a lot of lower back pain. I don't like it at all. Whereas when you have this cushion, that basically fills that gap, so it does feel way better. It's a lot more comfortable, and you can get way better range of motion with it too, which is exactly what you want. I find I can brace better against this too. And I think my bracing on leg movements as a whole has improved quite drastically over the past, even just like 3 months or so. I've just really, navigating around this little knee injury that I've had, I've really had to dial in how I actually execute all my quad compound movements. And I think that is going to really start to pay off, especially when I diet back down, because with the way my fat is distributed on my body, I store the majority of it on my lower body, so glutes, hamstrings in particular, quads even. So in my off seasons, I will still look somewhat lean. I'll still have abs for the vast majority of it. I'll have like arm veins, shoulder veins. Like from an upper body perspective, you would say I'm like not out of shape at all, but my quads literally have like almost no definition in them. You'll be able to see because I do a little physique check in the posing room here at the end of this session, but that does mean that I can't really tell how much muscle I'm putting on, because due to them holding more fat just in the off season, they just look way bigger. Like I fill out my clothes, my pants in particular, way more than I do during like dieting phases or when they get really lean, which they never tend to get like as peeled as my upper body does, for example, but they do still get lean during preps. So when I do diet down again, it is going to be interesting to see whether I actually have put on a lot of size through my quads. In all honesty, I don't imagine that I will have put on as much as I possibly could have if my knee hadn't been playing up as much as it has this off season, but that's out of my control. I've worked around it the best I can. I've done everything that I can to still make progress regardless, so I know that regardless of how they do look, that is the best they could look, because I couldn't have done anything else. I've just made the absolute most of my situation, which is all you can do. But it has meant that by doing things like paused reps and really focusing on my eccentric controls, it's meant that my actual leg execution, my quad compound execution has improved quite a lot. So something positive has come out of it. I'm not just absolutely shithousing my reps like I have done previously in the past. But anyways, back to the training session. In terms of the leg press, I did one top set with 4 plates aside, then one back off with 3 and 3/4 plates aside. So I got 7 reps on the top set, 8 on the back off, and they were tough. They were 2 very hard sets, especially the last couple of reps, because that leg press is quite a bit more challenging in the lengthened position when it is hard, so basically out of the hole, as opposed to the Cybex squat press, which is the other leg press that I use on my other leg session. The squat press is a little bit more challenging at the lockout, so it is nice to have the variety, but I am definitely not used to leg presses that are that difficult in the lengthened position, so it did come to a bit of a shock to the system. And then after that, I moved on to 2 sets of the Planet pendulum squat. I thought it was called Monster, but I think that is just the range, like the line of equipment that they've essentially, the brand Planet has created. Gym equipment brands have different ranges. I think range is the word you call it. It's like Nautilus has the Explode range or the Leverage range. I think range, I don't know, it might be something else. But I did actually not have the greatest expectations of this machine. I hadn't heard the best things about it, and to be honest, I just never tried it, so I didn't know what to expect. But this might actually be one of, if not the best pendulum squats that I've ever used. It's definitely a lot lighter, so it is, I guess you can get more weight on it, you can do more reps. But the best part about it was the fact that I could get way more range of motion out of it, and I have still been getting really good range of motion when using the Gym Leco pendulum. But with this one, I could almost get my glutes to completely touch my heel while still keeping my heel, not completely, but a lot more on the pad compared to using the Gym Leco pendulum. So yeah, 2 sets on there felt absolutely great. They were noisy. I did have my headphones in, so I didn't realise how loud I was being, but that is one thing I've noticed at EP Jungle. People don't care. You can genuinely just train to your absolute limits, and people around you encourage it, and it's great. It's such a great training environment. If you haven't tried the gym out and you're local, I would 100% recommend it if you are somebody who does train hard and does take pride in how passionate they are for the training. And then after this, moved on to barbell RDLs, and this set didn't go exactly to plan. I did want 5 reps with 150, but I got basically 3 RDLs, and then I kind of just lost my brace. I think at this point the heat's just getting to me, and it just didn't go exactly how I wanted it to. Just didn't have it in the tank at that point. So then after the 3rd rep, I dropped it and I was like, right, I'm getting another rep here. So I just did 1 rep of a stiff leg to finish that set off. But I think next time I use this, I am going to use the Pit Shark, which I'll just talk about that next session because I haven't got much left of the training clips. To finish the session off, I basically just did 2 sets on this Star Track standing calf raise, which I did use a couple of weeks ago when I first came here. And I definitely do like this calf raise. You can get a very good stretch on your calf, like a lot more than you can on most different calf raises, because of the way the actual foot pad is sort of angled. It does slope down quite drastically, which means you can get the calf fully lengthened, which is good because that is where you want to be placing emphasis when you are training your calves. So yeah, that felt good, and then I just posed. Right, just finished up this session. As you see, I'm fucking stoked. This top isn't one of those tops where it's like split colours. It's supposed to be warm, this colour here, except it's now changed shape. So yeah, that is the UK heat wave at the moment. So I'm not going to get some. It's going to be disgusting getting that back on. But if you're see how it goes, amazing shot. See how the legs open. Answers, bumps once again. Right, yes guys, as you can see, I'm fucking drenched. Sick session though. Started out with arms, so, well, I say single arm tricep extension. I did a dual arm today just for time efficiency's sake, and because with the Cybex Bravo, it's narrow enough to actually be able to hit a dual arm set properly. So yeah, happy with that. And then single arm preachers on the Strive. I do like the Strive piece. I do prefer the Jim Lecker one. Well, there was up at Kings, it's now gone, so not an option. Strive is now the best option we've got. And then, yeah, the rest of them went pretty sick, all the isolations. Yeah, I talked through most of it in the voiceover, so you see how I felt during the sets and in terms of how it differs to the equipment that I normally use up at Kings. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the session went, to be fair. Very pleased with how the pendulum was. That I went into it thinking, this isn't going to be like the best pendulum ever. It's not going to compare to the Jim Leco. I think it's better. Like, I can get more depth with my heel staying closer to the pad. Not the pad, sorry, the foot pad, basically. It feels comfier. You can stay in position better. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're both sick pieces. It is lighter, so you can lift more weight on it for sure. But that's not why it's better. It just seems to be a bit smoother. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. It's fucking boiling down there though. Like, in this heat, they didn't have the shutter open. They just had a fan on. So it's literally like a sauna. You basically walk in, you're like, right, I'm going to be soaking with sweat within about a minute here. So let's just fucking forget about that and crack on with it. And yeah, that's what you do. And to be honest with you, I actually prefer training in this heat. Just because, well, the pros are my joints feel way better. Like, I actually feel like I perform better just from my body temperature being warmer. You don't need ridiculous amounts of warm-up sets. You can pretty much just get stuck straight in, which is sick. It does save a bit of time. But the drawback is the heat exhaustion towards the latter end of the session. I mean, towards the latter end of the session, you're fucked anyway, so it doesn't really affect it that much. But when it's paired with the heat, it is quite heavy, to be fair, man. Like, you do feel a bit like wiped out by the end. But you should, anyways, even if it's not boiling hot, even if it's a freezing cold day, you should still feel wiped out by the end of your session if you're doing things right. So, to be honest, I'll come to a conclusion that I actually just prefer the heat when it comes to training. When it comes to day-to-day life, nah. Well, I was saying this to someone earlier. The UK is just not built for this sort of temperature, and it's not ridiculously hot. It's like, today's been colder than it has been the past 2 days. Previous 2 days, it's touched like 34, I think, 36 maybe. Today was like 26, 28. I might have got these temperatures way off, to be honest. I haven't really checked, but it's just the way the UK is built though. Like, houses have way more insulation just due to like building regulations and stuff. The windows are all double glazed. Everything's manufactured and designed to keep heat in, because usually we're fucking freezing as a country. And obviously barely anywhere has actual aircon built in. I mean, luckily my office at work has really good aircon, so I'm actually kind of cold at work, which is good. I'd rather be a little bit cold on the colder side at work, especially when you got like fucking doing a desk job. You got to think about stuff. So yeah, I'd rather be colder in that sense. But the issue is when it comes to trying to sleep. Like, you can have your windows open, but that just lets more warm air in, and it's noisy. So yeah, it's definitely not ideal. I am debating actually just buying a like portable aircon unit, just spending like 300-400 quid and just, yeah, sorting myself out for the next however many years I'll use it for before it breaks. Hopefully it'll last a good like 5 or 6 years if it's 300-400 quid. That could either be an insanely good investment, or it could be an absolute waste of money because it just works like shit. So to be honest, I probably won't take the chance on it. I think I might just get one of those really good high powered fans for like 80 quid or so, because I've got noise cancelling headphones. I can put them over my ears when I'm sleeping. Noise doesn't really bother me in that sense. I've got an eye mask and shit as well. That's related to the light and everything. And it also doesn't help that the aircon in my car's broke as well. So when I'm like getting to work in the mornings, I'm literally soaked with sweat, and then I've got to sit in a, you know, at a desk soaked in sweat for the rest of the day while still being cold. When you get cold after sweating, it feels horrible. And then you get home, start sweating again, get to the gym, sweating bucket. It's just a sweat fest basically, but it is what it is. It's only temporary. It's not going to be like this forever. Well, I mean, to be fair, with global warming and that, maybe it will get hotter. In fact, it almost certainly will. But regardless, it's not all year. By the time winter rolls back around, we will want the heat to come back. So best thing you can do when it does get stupidly hot like this is drink more water. Try and keep as cool as you can in terms of like your bedroom. Make sure your windows are open, and don't sleep with a duvet on. Try and get to bed early if you can, because realistically you're going to get less sleep because you might wake up due to the heat, or it'll take you longer to fall asleep, or you might wake up earlier due to being too hot. So your sleep's going to be affected. You're just going to have to suck that up. It is what it is. Don't skip the gym when it comes to the heat. Like, because for me, for example, I've been going into the sessions feeling exhausted from the heat, but because I'm in a warm gym and my joints are feeling better because of the heat, I'm actually training better. Also, for people bulking up, you're going to want to listen to this, but even if you're cutting down, when it does get really hot like this, you are not going to want to eat. Your appetite is going to be negatively affected. You're probably going to want to just have loads of cold drinks or ice lollies and stuff. You're not going to want to eat a warm bowl of chicken and rice, or, you know, burrito, whatever's on your meal plan. You're not going to want to eat it probably, unless it's like Greek yogurt and berries. That's quite a nice summer meal. But it's important that you still get the food down regardless, because like I said, it's temporary. If after this heat wave's over, you've slacked off, you've missed the gym, you've ate off plan, you've missed meals, or you've cheated on your diet loads, you've gone out, got absolutely bladdered, which you can do in moderation, but well, to an extent. I mean, if you really want to achieve big things, can't really, so you just got to firm that. But if you've done those things over this period, when the temperature goes back to a normal state again, when scenarios pop up like this again, because they will, we are going to get more heat waves, they're inevitable, you just got to firm them. If you've sort of, you know, screwed up, for example, when heat waves come again, you're going to sort of remember that, and then you're going to be more likely to screw up again and again, sort of. Whereas if you've stayed on plan and you've just pushed through and you've done everything that you would normally in spite of the heat, even though it has been harder to do it and it's been more uncomfortable, you're going to have this like sense of confidence in yourself where you know that, right, well, it's been hot before and I've got on just fine, I've still made progress, so just a bit of heat is what it is, I've done it before. So the actions that you're actually taking now will just strengthen your mentality for when future events like this happen again. And to be honest, you can apply this to any shit scenario that happens. But yeah, enough of the motivational speech. I'm going to get home and eat my post-workout meal, get a really nice cold shower, try and cool down. Hopefully my room's cooled down by now. I've had the windows open all day. So yeah, adios.